What's up, everybody? Happy Black Friday. This is the Insiders TV daily NBA show.
This is so that to the beach, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are playing basketball on the show today. Hopefully, we'll be having Mike Leone from Roto Experts. His computer just locked up on him out of the blue. So he's currently trying to restart that. Testing was fine, but sometimes that happens, especially to new
Fridays.
to new Macs. But we do have this guy right here, Dave Loughran. Man, you are looking like fresh. It looks like your hair is all done. You got the chain out.
No, man. No hair done. That's just a new haircut, man. I had to get it done for Thanksgiving, you know?
Well,
And this is a part of me.
hey, I hear that. I'm not hating at all. So hopefully we can get Mike on the show, and he'll see. Hopefully he will get the invite, and we'll take the time to get him on. But Black Friday, I'm hoping everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Did you have a good Thanksgiving, Dave?
Yeah, it was great, man. How about yours?
I can't complain, and if I did complain, something would be wrong. I actually had I went to Kentucky and had two Thanksgivings, one here in Nashville, then went to Kentucky and had another Thanksgiving there. Left the wife in Kentucky just for a few days, and then I'm going to go.
Sounds like a good plan.
I'm going to go pick her back up on Sunday. So I've got these next 2 days to myself. Oh,
There you go.
daily fantasy. Here we come. Mike, you're on the show now. Welcome to the Fantasy Insiders Daily NBA Show.
What's up, guys? I finally got my tech issues sorted out, it seems.
Yes. So while I edit the shot because it kind of messed things up when you came back on, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good. I went to Rochester, New York with my wife's family and spent the day there. Just pretty much ate a lot of food, watched a lot of football.
Is your Buffalo team playing today?
UB is playing, yeah, but I'm not a big college football guy.
Didn't you go to school there?
No, I went to Canisius College, but my dad went to UB.
Canisius, home of the
Golden Griffins.
Oh man! Oh,
Can't make that up.
you talk about scary. You've never been scared until you've seen a golden griffin coming your way. That's
You don't mess with mythical creatures, Dave.
those are the. Are those like the? What? Well, what is a griffin? Is it like a winged creature of some sort?
Yeah, it's like, if you put wings on a lion or something. Well, maybe not quite a lion, but it's pretty cool.
Sounds really cool.
Maybe not.
Oh, it sounds cool. Listen, your background just kind of pops. Dave and I have these boring backgrounds.
He's got purple.
Yours is pretty awesome.
That is
Thank
pretty
you.
sweet.
You got to be colorful. You guys got the boring, bland backgrounds. Come on.
I'll stick with the white.
What jersey is that, Mike?
This is Michael Jordan.
So are you a Bulls fan too?
No, I just, kind of collect some old school jerseys that catch my eye.
I was a big Bulls fan back in the day when they were good, and you could watch them on WGN. And then after Michael left, I don't know. I kind of feel like a fair weather fan because I stuck with the Cubs. But John Paxson, man, he was like my idol growing up. But we have a lot of Chicago fans that are also guests. Dave, can you tell us about some of the news going on today?
Yeah, some of the stuff coming out of Houston is definitely something to keep watch on. With Jeremy Lin looking like he's out 2 weeks, I like Aaron Brooks a lot. He could see probably 30 minutes tonight, and he's he's performed well in 2 of his last 3 games. Another guy's Francisco Garcia if James Harden isn't in. I'm not sure if he's been ruled in or out yet, but I know he was questionable heading into tonight's game. And every time he's been ruled questionable in the past couple of games, he's been out. So I'm definitely keeping a close eye on Houston tonight. That's a game that I'm looking to target a lot of value in, especially considering both of those guys are minimum salary on nearly every site, and you can fit any studs in that you're looking for if you can get 1 or 2 of them in. I'm actually, if Harden and Lin are both out, I'll probably put both of them in a lineup tonight for GPPs.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that game. Terrence Jones also might see a little bit of an uptick just in scoring opportunities. His price is fairly high, but on DraftDay, which is our sponsor of the Daily Fantasy Insiders TV show, he's only 8,600 there, so he's a pretty good price. Mike, any other news that you're seeing out there? The Bledsoe situation obviously is one to keep an eye on. I just don't think he's going to be playing.
Yeah, I mean, and Goran Dragic keeps his value if Bledsoe's out. I think he went like 30 and 10 the other night, and he keeps the ball in his hands if Bledsoe's out, even if the minutes are similar. They're a little bit more stable. The other situation I'm watching, a couple of cheap guys to use on Draft Street. Cartier Martin looks like he'll start again with Kyle Korver out, and Jeff Taylor from Charlotte could see more minutes if MKG's out.
Oh, I love Jeff Taylor. The thing with Taylor is that it depends on what he wants to do. He's not exactly, he's got so much athleticism. It's just if he wants, it's just a mental thing with him. It's purely mental because he is extremely talented, has a good shot, and he just kind of takes a back seat. And it's what he did at Vanderbilt, and it's what he has done sometimes at Charlotte. But last season, when he had the opportunities, he did well. And earlier this season, he's also done well. So what is up with MKG?
I saw he was questionable and that he might not play. Let's see. He is highly questionable to play Friday night. I don't see what just a foot injury. So.
Oh, Dink says plantar fasciitis. That's one of those things.
That's a bad.
Yeah, that's one of those things that it's just a nagging injury. It just never goes away. So that's something definitely to keep an eye on. Yeah, I'm reading it right now. Yeah, it looks like Jeff Taylor might be the guy. Interesting.
For what it's worth, I like Martin a bit more. I was running the Draft Street points per minute, which is kind of something I like to do when you get fill-in guys, just to see, how many minutes they need to hit value based on their, rate stats. And Martin's averaging about 0.53 Draft Street points per minute, and Taylor's only at 0.39. Obviously, that could change too if, roles in the offense change, not just increased minutes. But I like Martin a little bit better as your cheap play on Draft Street.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, he had a good game, basically. It was all points, though. And on Wednesday, and John Jenkins, another Vanderbilt guy, had a few rebounds, a few assists, but I'm looking at Lou Williams tonight.
That's what I was just about to say.
He's a guy that had over 30-something fantasy points on Tuesday, had to sit out Wednesday, the back end of a back-to-back. So he's a guy, Sweet Lou is a guy that is not afraid at all to attack the rim and to shoot, basically. He's one of those gunners. Dave, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, also, if you look at his minutes, he's gone from on November 20th, he played 15 minutes. The 23rd, he played 18, and he played 24 on the 26th. So there's a very realistic chance that he could see, I don't want to say 30, but I think he could see near 27, 28 minutes. And someone like that can throw up 15 shots in that span of time. He also had, I think he had 8 assists in that last game. Yeah, he had 8 assists. So someone like that, he has a potential to produce a lot in a very little amount of time. So I think, but granted, this is, we're speaking specifically on sites where he's inexpensive. Not the sites where he's still priced where he was last year because he didn't play. Now, some sites, when someone gets injured, their price drops. Other ones, their price just remains stagnant and doesn't move at all. So if you can find him cheap tonight, I think he could put up – I think he's a potential 30 fantasy point guy tonight for very cheap on specific sites.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can definitely score in bunches if he gets hot. So
he's minimum salary on DraftKings. He's $3,000 on DraftKings. I'm looking right now. Like, you can't pass that up.
Yeah, I agree. I love Sweet Lou. So let's take a look at some of the games we have going on, some of the high scoring games, and the top scoring game is going to be New Orleans at Philadelphia. And it was funny because I was reading yesterday that Eric Gordon was saying that they want to pick up the pace. Well, this would be an excellent game to do so, to start doing that and putting their money where their mouth is. New Orleans is actually favored, and they have, if I'm not mistaken, next to the Rockets, they have the second highest point total for the night. So New Orleans, are you looking at anybody on that team like Anthony Davis, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for more value. Obviously, Anthony Davis is going to be a top play option, but on a stricter pricing site like DraftStreet, it's still tough to fit him in. But Eric Gordon's only $8.5K on DraftStreet. That seems like incredible value given, it's a high-scoring game. Philadelphia leads the league in pace. They suffer defensively against backcourt players. I think they're 27th in defensive efficiency against shooting guards. They're dead last in defensive efficiency against point guards. So Drew Holiday is another guy. He's been a bit more consistent lately. So, he's kind of a safe play, but he's got the upside too. So I'm looking at those two guards from New Orleans tonight.
Dave?
Yeah, Drew Holiday has been overlooked way too much today. I mean, Dave, he's coming back to Philadelphia for the first time since being traded.
Revenge factor. Let's get it.
I believe in that. I really do believe in that. And I also think it's going to affect Michael Carter-Williams because you got him on his side. He's out there looking to prove that they made the right decision. Holiday's looking to prove that they made the wrong decision. And Holiday, he actually did have a decent game against Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. He put up 40.5 fantasy points on DraftKings. And he's the kind of guy that can provide the points, the assists, and even the rebounds at times. So coming into Wells Fargo Center, I really like Drew Holiday tonight. And I really like Michael Carter-Williams. I think it's going to be a great battle between those two point guards. And Evan Turner's another guy. They got blown out when they went to New Orleans last time. Blown out. The game was over in the second quarter. Anthony Davis had 6 blocks in the first quarter. I mean, it was just a mess. But I don't think it's going to be the same tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of points. And I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy value to go around. But I think it'll be a relatively tight game.
And that's what our good buddy Drew Dinkmeyer said. He also hails from Roto Experts with Mike. But he said that New Orleans put up 135 last game. So, and again, they really didn't get to play as much as we wanted them to. Drew Holiday has been playing better, and he's been stuffing the sheets. I mean, he hasn't. His shooting is still. I mean, it's Drew Holiday shooting. So like last game, he was 6 for 17. But let's see, he also had 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. That is stuffing the stats right there. Drew says that he is shooting 47% since Anderson returned. I'm guessing he's talking about Drew and not the team. And he said he dropped that stat in the write-ins today. So plug for Drew and Mike there at Roto Experts. There definitely, though, is some value in Drew. Eric Gordon, I still get gun-shy with him. And I'm not saying that there isn't going to be value tonight. I'm saying for me, that's more of there's a lot more risk in that play than Drew. So that will be a GPP play because he is capable of putting up 35 fantasy points tonight.
Yeah, but I think he could be used in standard games on DraftStreet. I mean, that might be a bit site specific. I mean, 8.5K. If you look at his game log, he hits value or is right at value in the majority of his games. He just had a recent, a complete dud against San Antonio that is kind of factoring into his price there. And another guy in this game, for anyone who plays on Star Street, Thaddeus Young is priced ridiculously low. He's almost the bare minimum price. So that's Star Street only, but you kind of have to play him at 5,300 on Star Street.
Especially if Spencer Hawes is out too. He's going to get a lot more run in that front court. But the problem with Eric Gordon for me is the lack of peripheral stats. So, if he's not putting up 20 points, he's going to struggle because he's only put up more than 5 assists once this season, which I think that's right. But either way, that scares me a little bit because he's one-dimensional. But yeah, I definitely think he's a decent play against a Philadelphia team that allows the most fantasy points per game to shooting guards. So I'm with that play tonight.
Yeah, and if Spencer Hawes does, I think Spencer Hawes does play. He still is going to be. I'm still not sure if I trust him with that knee. But if he's not, you saw without him what Vooch did on Wednesday. Who is this?
We've got a visitor, I guess.
Yeah? Would he like to introduce himself?
This is Kelly the cat. She is named after Jim Kelly. So she likes to soak in the limelight, I guess.
Oh, very nice. Oh man, cats, purple walls, just kind of
he's got it all.
Yeah, just kind of completes everything. So you like Michael Carter Williams, Dave? I like him as well, especially like on DraftKings where his price is still relatively sane. For me, the revenge factor is more on the Drew Holiday side. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm factoring it into MCW. I just think that he's a good play in an up and down game. Evan Turner, another guy on that Philadelphia squad that in an up and down game could potentially do well. It just depends on where his salary's at. Your thoughts on Turner, Dave?
I like Turner a lot tonight. When you look at his statistics recently, he has 10-plus rebounds in 3 of his last 4 games. So that tells me that even when he's not putting the points up, he's going to provide for you elsewhere. And that's exactly what I look for in guys like that at his price range. I think he's like 7,800 on DraftKings. But it's really hard not to like somebody that can give you stats across the board. 11 rebounds and 8 assists with 17 points last week last game against Orlando in 42 minutes. He's playing nearly 40 minutes every single game, if not more, and he's firing off nearly 17, 18, 19 shots a game. So there's really high ceiling there. It's ironic that his only horrible game this season did come against New Orleans, where he put up 4 points and 15 fantasy points. But I still think he's worth a look tonight. He's one of those higher mid-range plays that can give you the elite type statistics if he has one of those really solid games, which I think he can do tonight at home.
Definitely agree. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to take a look at, especially in some of these qualifiers that are going on tonight. Another pretty interesting game. Last Sunday, I guess it was, they played against each other, and it was way more of a game than people thought it was going to be. This one's at Sacramento, but the Kings and the Clippers, Chris Paul, anyone? DeMarcus Cousins, anyone? I mean,
Marcus Cousins.
It's Cousins is going to be a guy that it's interesting with Cousins because generally it takes a while for people to kind of get on that bandwagon, and then once they do, he'll get tossed, he'll get ejected, he'll get benched for mouthing off to the coach, and then people are they slowly kind of build back up. But I think more and more people are starting to get on the Cousins train. Probably not the best way to phrase that. Mike, are you on DeMarcus Cousins tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his 2 games versus the Clippers, he put up on Draft Street 49 points and 42 points. He has played – his biggest risk is, like you said, getting tossed, keeping his head in the game, because his fantasy production per minute is actually pretty safe. I mean, you think other top center tonight, Dwight Howard, with him you just don't know, what production you're going to get. With Cousins, it's just a matter of minutes. Is he going to get benched, do something stupid? Because if he plays – I think in Draft Street, 8 games this year, he's played more than 30 minutes. and 7 of those he has more than 40 fantasy points, and the other one he had 32. I mean, that's pretty insane ratio there. So, and the Clippers are dead last in defensive efficiency against centers. I think I would take him easily as the top center tonight.
Easily at the top center.
I agree.
Very
I agree.
nice.
I think just because a lot of people look at DeAndre Jordan's rebound totals and they tend to think that it makes him a good defender, but it doesn't. Like Mike said, they're allowing more fantasy points than any other team. The defensive efficiency against centers is terrible this year. So look, as long as somebody doesn't grab him in his junk, I think he'll be okay. You know, that only happens to somebody like Cousins, right? But at the same time, he's the kind of upside play that I'm willing to gamble on, because even if he does get tossed, let's say in the third quarter, he could still give you 40 fantasy points up until that point. And also another thing is, in my opinion, he may be the most well-rounded center in the game right now, other than Marc Gasol, but he's kind of like a lower ceiling, higher floor. I think DeMarcus Cousins, with his ability to block, steal, dish out dimes, grab rebounds, and still put up 30 points in a game, it's really hard not to love him tonight against Clippers in a game that they're going to need him to do everything he can, you know, to try and bring this win home.
So you would take, this might even be a pick 5 somewhere, but would you take Cousins over Anthony Davis tonight on sites where he is center, on sites where Davis is center eligible?
Go ahead, Mike.
That's a tough one. I was thinking more, pure center plays. I was looking at Draft Street. I'd probably lean Anthony Davis because I think the floor is higher. I think if you're looking at just centers and you're comparing Cousins to Dwight, I think I would definitely take Cousins. But I don't know, Dave. You're putting me on the spot here. That's a tough one. I'll go Anthony. If I had to pick 5, I would go Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that I would probably pick Anthony Davis above him, but on sites where you're kind of locked in, mainly FanDuel, I do think Cousins is the top center option tonight. So on the opposite side, Chris Paul, I mean, the biggest thing that we have kind of worried about with these Clippers is the blowout factor. And we're seeing that while they're scoring a lot, they're letting other people score, and they're playing a lot of minutes. Are you high on Chris Paul at all, Dave, tonight?
I don't really think he's worth a play when there's a lot of other options out there. That's the thing. It all depends on who's available. And when you have Michael Carter-Williams out there, what's the other good play? There's a lot of good plays tonight that maybe not a ton, but even someone like Dragic, who's been putting up wild points lately, it's hard to take someone like Chris Paul, who's 9,700 on DraftKings, where Dragic is 7,500, Holiday 7,600. Brandon Jennings has an awesome matchup against the Lakers too. He's 7,600, and Carter Williams is 78. So spending the additional $2,000 isn't worth it. I think you could spend it elsewhere. Someone like DeMarcus Cousins or Paul George.
Here's the thing about Chris Paul that's probably I don't think I would have any problem with playing him tonight, except for the fact that he had a slight little pull in his hammy on Wednesday. That's scary when you're playing a one of the high price point guards on a certain site, because if that flares up again, he has to go out. Well, then you're left with nothing. Not to make this a sob story, but it really sucks when you have players that are injured. I had Jeremy Lin and Jameer Nelson on Wednesday.
Oh.
Both of them.
Brutal.
So that was, luckily I was traveling, so I didn't play as much as I usually do. But still, in the Fish Cake King Challenge, I was dead last because of that. So there's definitely you want to stay away, if at all possible, from those injury risks, and you don't mess around with hamstrings. So since that's going to be a late game, I would probably stay away from it. Let's talk about this other high-scoring game. It's going to be a fun game, the Oklahoma City and Golden State game. Are you wanting to play anybody tonight from this game, David?
I really, I looked over a lot of players from this game, and someone like Stephen Curry is going to give you production regardless, but I think you can stay away from this game and still have a really solid lineup for less cost. Someone like Serge Ibaka, I kind of like tonight, but at the same time, I'm not in love with him. I really don't. I looked over everyone. I weighed my options, and I think for the prices on and all these guys, I mean, really with Oklahoma City, there's only three guys on that team that are worth playing on any given night, unless there's a 2-game slate where you throw in, Cephalosha, or you throw in, someone Adams, anybody, just to, supplement your points. But I don't really think they're worth the price tonight.
Adams made me wince a little bit. He's
Well, he had a big game a couple of days ago in that 2-game thing. He won a lot of people money because I played Nick Collison. He gave me like 15, 16 points. Adams put up 30. Mind you, Dave, I'm talking about 2-game slates.
no.
Not tonight.
I know. I agree.
Adams
I'm just saying I'm wincing because you even said the name Adams. He was earlier in the season. We thought without Perkins, he was going to be the guy that would just
that was
It was horrible.
come in and dominate. But yeah, I'm probably staying away, especially on the Golden State side. Curry's always a nice option, especially where he is shooting guard eligible. It's he's going to be. I just don't trust him tonight, and I think there are better options. But wasn't there a game last year against Oklahoma City where he just went off? I can't remember if that was Oklahoma City or another team, but someone in the chat look that up for us and see if
I think Mike's going to work right now on that.
there's a game.
Yeah, I don't got it. I'll look it up.
Oh.
But I mean, when I'm looking at that game, Dave, how you said you were kind of avoiding Golden State. It's kind of funny when you get these thinned out rotations because of injuries, you get incredible value at first because guys are picking up extra minutes. But once the pricing starts to catch up to that, then you're not getting any, extra value. There's not a lot of, room for growth there once the price catches up. But one guy I'm looking at in this game is Russell Westbrook. I think it's your chance to take a stud level player at a below stud level price on most sites. Drew wrote him up in today's, daily fantasy rundown on Roto Experts as one of the best value plays. He's priced below guys like John Wall, Stephen Curry, Chris Paul, other top point guards. And if you look at last year, he actually outscored all of these players in fantasy points per game. He's coming off, 2 bad games and a game that he rested, so his price is, deflated. He put up, I think, 46 Draft Street points, 50 FanDuel points in the last meeting between these two teams. So he's a guy I will have, a lot of places tonight.
Curry and Barnes and Thompson are guys that you make a good point, Mike, about the time on the court because that means everything. But eventually they're going to wear out. They're seeing 42 minutes per game right now, and that's a lot. They played back-to-back games with 42 minutes. Curry just did. And I'm really surprised that Barnes with 39, 40, 42 minutes, he can't crack 20 fantasy points right now. So even him, like you said, his price has jumped up a little bit. So I agree. There's a lot to avoid there where maybe a week ago they would have been ideal value plays.
I looked it up last year. It looks like Curry had one game where he scored 31 against Oklahoma City, but I don't see anything too crazy.
His biggest game, I think, was against the Knicks last year, right?
Yeah, he had that crazy, I think,
monster game,
like a 50-point game in New York. Yeah, 54 points,
80 fantasy points.
That's like me at the YMCA on Friday mornings.
Do you count your Draft Street points when you play those games, Dave?
I thought it was actually kind of sick because last year I remember, like in a playoff game for the old man league that I was in, and after I got done, I looked at the stat sheet and I calculated my Draft Street points, and that's like where I knew, like, okay, you definitely have a problem.
Absolutely.
As far as the another game, we talked about revenge factor earlier. I want to get Dave's take on this. Carmelo Anthony against the Nuggets. How many shots? Does he shoot more than 25 shots tonight?
Oh, man. I like him tonight. I put him in as I typically don't like to put higher end, like the elite plays in my columns, but he's the kind of guy that I like him a lot tonight. He's averaging, I think, 46 fantasy points over the first 3 games on this West Coast road trip. He's heading back to Denver where he played 7+ seasons of his career. I really like him because as putrid as New York has been, I mean, they've been terrible. There's no production outside of Carmelo Anthony and Bargnani right now. But with the way he's playing, it's really hard not to like him. And I know he misses a lot of shots. So clearly, on sites where they dock points you for missed shots, you might want to think twice about it. But still, he's the kind of guy that he put up 60 fantasy points the other night. And not only that, but he's grabbing boards too. He's grabbing double-digit rebounds right now. So in Denver tonight, and I don't know if this means anything, but the altitude has always been a factor for a lot of people. It's always mentioned in football and basketball. So you could say he's used to it, and maybe that'll help him out a little bit too.
Yeah, when Dave says he's hitting the glass more recently, I just pull up the game log and you see 9 rebounds, 15, 12, 18, 7, 12, 10. Those are his last 7 games. When you're getting that kind of work on the glass from a guy who's going to chuck as many shots as he is, he plays 40 minutes a night. He is one of your safer plays on a site that doesn't dock for missed field goals.
Yeah, every night, every night he's one of the safest plays. Same with him and Kevin Love are becoming similar with his rebounds right now.
You also have J.R. Smith, who's going against his old team, and he is going to be. I asked a question in the chat, but who has a better shooting percentage tonight, Melo or J.R. Smith against their old team, and how many shots a piece do they take? I mean, they are. You have to think that both of them are going to be letting it fly. This is going to be a fun game to watch. On the opposite side of things, a team that misses a lot, or shoots a lot and misses a lot. On the opposite side of things, Mike, are you liking anybody as far as rebounders go for this Denver team?
I haven't seen a lot of value in the Denver guys. Pretty much in this game, I'm looking at Melo on non-efficiency sites, and I noticed Bargnani is actually pretty cheap on FanDuel. He's not someone I like in real life, but he's been getting the job done in fantasy pretty consistent. 5,700 on FanDuel against Denver, who they struggle pretty badly against power forwards and centers. But I'm not on too much on Denver. Lawson's price is really high. He's a high floor player, but I don't know if there's a lot of room for you to profit on that selection just because of the price adjustment there.
What about Trey Burke tonight, Dave?
Yeah,
his price is so cheap on our sponsor DraftDay. His price is $6,250. So the minimum is $5,000, and right. So that's barely above there. He's dirt cheap, playing against Phoenix. And your thoughts on him as a value play tonight?
I'd throw him in there, but I like to gamble, man. Like usually, whenever I have like real successful nights, it usually comes from playing a couple bottom of the barrel cellar dwellers, And look, sometimes they give you the opportunity to what did you say? He's 6,000?
6,200.
Okay, so he's essentially minimum salary on a site where you've seen LeBron James jump up over 20,000, right? So he's the kind of guy that, yeah, I would throw him in there without hesitation tonight because he doesn't need to give you. People are under the impression sometimes, you get the misconception that your value plays need to give you 20 points. They don't. At that salary, he could give you 15 fantasy points and still meet value. Because now with him in your lineup, you have Carmelo Anthony, or you have Stephen Curry, or you have Paul George. And really what you do is you bolster the rest of your lineup and you put him in there. I had Tony Orton in the other night. He gave me 10 points, and I had a great night. So you don't need big production. You just need him to hit value. And for 6,200, someone that's going to start, someone that's going to shoot, and his minutes are most likely going to keep rising, I think he's a great play on draft day.
Yeah, I don't see how you can fade him near minimum price. He saw 34 minutes last game, a big bump. He attempted 17 shots. I mean, any minimum price player that sees that sort of volume, has the ball in his hands, is worth taking. And we know Burke, it's not just a matter of quantity. He has some talent. Obviously, he needs to adjust to the NBA level, but he's going up against Dragic. I just looked it up on Basketball Reference. His career defensive rating is 109, which is on the high end, and that number, the higher the number, the worse the defender. So it's not a super hard matchup. He's getting the quantity. Anywhere he's near minimum price, he is definitely worth a value play.
And I liked what I saw in overtime the other night against Chicago too. It looked like he wasn't getting shook, and he's out there, fresh into the league. I think he'll continue earning more playing time as we go along.
Yeah, and he's going to learn. He did take some ill-advised shots there, but if you're playing to the fantasy, you want your point guard to be one that is attacking the rim and is going to be, especially at 62.50 on draft day, is going to be someone that does that. So he is a guy that I'm definitely looking at draft day. We want to take a minute and just recognize draft day as a sponsor of the show. They have Scott Malwick, who is on Wednesday. He does his article, and it's a great article. You can actually go to draft day and see it. It's up at the top, and it's a strategy link. But today's article, Scott talks about Paul George, which is interesting. We haven't really covered him yet today, and Gordon Hayward, and value plays. Aaron Brooks, like you talked about, Dave. Patrick Beverly, Marvin Williams, a guy that has a lot of playing time with Enes Kanter being out. I think Kanter's going to be back out there again tonight, but still Williams is a value play, and then Chandler and Bargnani. And he also has Walker and Jennings, Kemba Walker and Brandon Jennings. I want to get your take on those two guys, because those are interesting guys, both kind of cut out of the same cloth. Your take on Walker, Dave, and then Mike, I'll let you cover Jennings.
Yeah, Kemba Walker. It really doesn't matter how good the matchup is for me. I'm not fond of playing. And first of all, Scott knows Scott's one of the most brilliant minds in this industry right now. He really knows what he's talking about. He's great at predicting what players are going to do on a game-to-game basis. But what I'm saying here is that with Kemba Walker, he's a great GPP play because he does have the potential to put up 50 fantasy points. But he's not the kind of guy I feel safe with in a basic head-to-head or 50-50. I'd really prefer somebody like Carter Williams, and they're on a lot of sites. They're in the same price range. Kemba Walker is actually more expensive than him on some sites. Who's the other guy you mentioned?
Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, we'll let Mike take the Brandon Jennings.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I kind of have similar feelings that Dave has towards Kemba, towards Brandon Jennings. You're never really sure what you're going to get with him. He's kind of by nature just a GPP play for me unless the prices come down. Tonight, however, it's pretty tempting because the Lakers, they're a fast-paced team. They don't really have anyone who can check Jennings. He put up 40-plus fantasy points again last time. On the non-efficiency sites, I could see using him at point guard. I prefer, either paying a little more for Russell Westbrook or paying for Drew Holiday in a 50-50 cash game type. But I could at least see using him in a standard cash game tonight. But usually, and tonight, for me, he will just be a GPP play.
Yeah, if I'm taking one guy from that team against the Lakers, it's going to be Drummond. And Scott actually talks about him in the article. But speaking of draft day, you can get on there right now, and they have a ton of cash games as far as the double-ups. Those are always good to see, those guaranteed double-ups. Those are what we like to call bankroll builders. And then they have the $10,000 worm going on tonight. That's a $109 buy-in, and it's already 82 out of 100. So if you're wanting to get into that in the next 3 hours, you need to get in there quick. But hopefully we'll have more guys playing there, and then next week we're going to have some games. So that should be fun. I want to take a look at the rapid fire. Durant or Braun tonight, Dave?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Durant. I think he's a little bit safer tonight. LeBron was a must-play lock the other night. I loved him the other night. But I don't know. I think they could dismantle Toronto, even in Toronto. So I think Kevin Durant thrives in these type of matchups. And with Iguodala out, Iguodala has actually shut him down over the last year in Denver. So I think with him out, Durant could have a monster game, and I think it'll be tight enough for him to stay in for 40-plus minutes and produce 50-plus fantasy points.
Mike?
It's kind of interesting. The spreads on the two games are actually, pretty even. With Miami being on the road, I think I'm going to take LeBron just because I think slightly better matchup for him. I could go either way on that one, but I think LeBron's a little bit safer tonight.
I'd go KD. I agree with you, Dave, that he is going to be a good player tonight. I like, you mentioned Westbrook. Typically, what the Warriors have done they're not going to put Curry on Westbrook. They're going to put Clay, which is slightly better defender than Curry, on him, and probably put Curry on Cephalosha or whoever. First of all, what happened on Wednesday? I didn't get to watch the game, but Russell Jackson, Reggie Jackson, sorry, not.
Russell's pretty good
yes,
too.
Russell, his brother. But what was with Reggie playing so many minutes? Is that something we're going to see in the future?
I'm going to defer to Dave on that. I didn't see Wednesday's game.
I'm going to defer to Mike on that.
Maybe.
I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't even recognize that. I should have, but I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I mean, I see he's been playing, 20 plus minutes consistently. He did have 26, which is a little bit more, but he's been right in that range the last, 10 games or so.
Maybe somebody in the chat can help us out, because I didn't see, I was traveling, so I didn't get to see the game, but I did notice that he was in and he had a monster game. So
yeah, I mean, just going from the game log, to me, it looks like he was playing really well and he saw a few extra minutes than he normally does. But I didn't see the game. That's just me, deducing that from the game log.
Fair.
God, we're a real big help over here. Huh? Oh, God.
Fair enough. Evan Pro 13 says Bledsoe's now probable for the game tonight, and Dink says that Reggie closes for them instead of Cephalosha now. So that's from our good buddy Dink, who also said it's going to be difficult for them to switch basically when so much is being in transition. So a lot of secondary breaks you see from both teams. So what he's saying is Steph might be forced to play on Russell, and that's another reason. If that happens, Steph is so I know that Dink talks about Kyle Lowry being so foul prone, but Steph is also very much sometimes he can frustrate you with the fouls. I was right. This is a pick 5 question. DeMarcus Cousins versus Anthony Davis. If you had to pick one, Mike, you said Davis. I said Davis. Dave, what says you?
Dave says DeMarcus Cousins. And call me crazy, but I don't want to say I feel confident about that. Never mind. Don't call me crazy. I'm not going to say I'm confident. but really, Davis has, over the past couple games, and he's played better at home this year. Over the past couple games, he's really, I don't want to say struggled, but for what is expected of him, for how he started the season off, he's not been that great. 44 fantasy points against Cleveland was nice, but then 28 against San Antonio, that's expected. Still, it's a little bit low. And then 34 fantasy points against Golden State. But my issue here is he hasn't registered more than 4 blocks in the past 3 games, and he already averages less blocks on the road. And Drew gave us a theory on that, which I thought was really interesting the other week. But when he's not getting blocked, when he was averaging 6 blocks at home this year. When he's not getting those type of blocks, I know it sounds crazy, but he was getting so many that it does decrease his production because his points have not been there lately. He hasn't scored 17, 10, 14 over his past 3 games respectively. So I love Cousins' upside tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis's, scoring has been down since Ryan Anderson, I think, came back. I just think it's just a little bit of a safer play if I'm going 50-50 where, you're just looking who beats who on more times than not. If you're looking at, a cap type game, other things come into play, like when Cousins beats Anthony Davis, how much does he beat him by, because he's got higher upside. Well, they both are really high upside plays. But that was a really long way of me to ramble and just basically say that I think you play this matchup 10 times, Anthony Davis is more likely to win 6 times.
I would definitely agree. And on draft day, they penalize for shots, and sometimes DeMarcus can let him fly from outside. It just depends. So I definitely think that Davis is the safer play. I like Drew Holiday tonight. I think this is a little bit of a trap, though, from Scott. I'm going to go Gasol over Holiday. Want to see your take on it, though, guys.
I like Drew Holiday.
I like Pau Gasol for the reason that you said, Dave. I do think it's kind of a trap. When we're talking about fantasy points allowed to opposing centers, just because Detroit has that Goliath frontcourt right now, they've allowed the 6th most in the league, and I really don't think that. I think Pau's playing great right now. Gasol is really, really playing great. Double doubles consistently. He's putting up 40 fantasy points consistently. And if we're doing a pick 5, kind of like what we just talked about with safer plays, although we disagreed with each other, I think Drew is still not the safest play. I love his upside tonight. Don't get me wrong. So we're talking a GPP, but in a pick 5, I'm going to go Gasol because I have more faith that he can put out, a solid, serviceable fantasy line.
Definitely. We're going to get to these last 2 questions. We have about 10 minutes left. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll make sure to take them. And again, if you haven't registered for Draft Day, go to our homepage and use the sign-up links that we have, and then read Scott's article, take what we've told you today, and play some games. Real quick, guys. Ellis versus Irving. Where are you going, Mike?
Ellis.
Dave? Sorry, I hate that guy after the other night, man. 2 for 16. Are you kidding me? Against Denver? What a joke. Thank God for those 10 assists, but he really, I still was all right because Channing Frye, I don't mean to rant, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm going to go with anyone that isn't Monta Ellis tonight.
I'm going to go Irving, so I'm with you there, Dave. Ellis is a good play. I just don't know if you can trust that Atlanta squad. And you also have, I think Irving is a very good play tonight against Boston. And I think his salary is under $14K there on Draft Day. So if you're wanting to play a cheap guy there. Turner versus Vooch. Vooch coming off a red-hot game, but against the Spurs at home, where are you going?
Is that Evan Turner?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't have that. Yeah, I'm going Evan Turner. Like Dave talked about earlier, he's a really safe play. He's got ton of minutes. He's rebounding the ball. He's doing a little bit of everything, and it's going to be an up and down game. I'll take that over a slower paced game that Vooch is in a very difficult matchup against San Antonio.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting how Vucevic produces against tough teams, but San Antonio is not the team that you want to risk that against. They're too good on defense. It's not a Miami. It's not even Oklahoma City or any other team that you expect him to produce poorly against, but he produces well. Last year he averaged 9 points and 9 rebounds against them. So in two contests. So he's really got to stay away from tonight. I loved him the other night against Philly, but this is not Philadelphia. This is not close to Philadelphia. But speaking of Philadelphia, yes, I think Evan Turner is a great play tonight and far safer than Vucevic, who's actually been rather inconsistent over the past couple of weeks.
Very nice. I would agree. And I thought at first it was going to be a trap that Scott was setting us up to take. That he was setting us up to take Turner over Vooch. I do think that Vooch might have the higher floor than Turner, but it's hard to play.
See, I'm thinking the opposite. I think Turner's got the higher floor tonight, but
yeah, me too.
I thought the trap was the other way. Vooch coming off that huge game. Scott thinking people would jump on him.
You have to think that everything's a trap with Scott on this pick 5. He and then Peter too with the pick 5 over there at Star Street. Everything's a trap. They want to get you to think, and that's good. Otherwise, they wouldn't have these contests. Cha Cha says, "Hey fellas, who you like at center tonight?" Mike, I'll get your take on who you like at center, other than DeMarcus Cousins.
What about Al Jefferson on sites where his salary dropped due to him working his way back from an injury? I mean, not everywhere. Dave was talking earlier. Some sites, their salary just stays the same. But he put up 30 draft street points in 25 minutes against Milwaukee the other night, and now he's seen over 30 minutes each of his past 2 games. Milwaukee's dead last in the NBA in rebounding rate as a team. They're one of the worst teams in defensive efficiency against centers. I just think this sets up really well for Al Jeff tonight.
I took Al Jefferson on the Fish Cake King Challenge thinking that I was going to be sneaky. He got me 19.75 fantasy points. And it was like in 30-something minutes. Anyways, I'm off the Jefferson train for now. And Al Horford, Avery Bradley, a well-known player, says, can Al Horford be wrong when he feels so right? Dave, I'll let you answer that question.
It's hard to trust him right now. The upside isn't there. The upside, that 45, 50-point upside that was there last year and earlier in this season isn't there. And he's playing less minutes too. He was producing in those minutes earlier, but when you have someone like Andre Drummond that's likely going to be less money than him against Lakers, I would take Drummond. And I also think there's a lot of value out there tonight. I know on the multi-eligibility sites, multi-position eligibility, you have Jared Sullinger and Brandon Bass going up against Cleveland. And I think those are 2 guys that are seeing 35 minutes a game. They're averaging nearly 30 fantasy points per game since they've, with Kelly Olynyk out. So, yeah, I'm definitely on that train tonight. But Al Horford, I know, he's so tempting. He's always tempting, but I can't play him until I can really see him put up what I'm expecting, what we're used to seeing from him.
Oh, I would definitely agree. Someone else talks about Channing Frye. The last time that I used Channing Frye was against that. It looked like he had such a juicy matchup against Sacramento, and he logged 16 minutes, had 0 points, 2 blocks, and a rebound. Since then, though, I want to take a look at what he's done. This is the cool thing again about DraftDay. They are the funnest place to play. I've talked about that before, but their interface is so nice, and their page is great. They've got their Twitter feed. That's through Fanium, the company that Grant started. So this is just a really nice. But you can see in their what he's done over the past 4 games since that dud. 47, 38, 28, and 35.
I also had him that night for the dud, and I think I had a qualifier team that did pretty well except for him, and I was pretty upset about it.
Yeah, I had him. I actually was lucky and fortunate enough to have him the other night in that big game. And I'm not going to lie and tell you he was on the top. He was all on my radar, and I loved him. No, he fit the bill. His salary was – I mean, look, you can't tell me that doesn't happen all the time. You look down, you say, I got this much left. I love the rest of my lineup. We're going with him. And I saw what he'd been doing. Look, on draft day, 32-plus fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games. And his minutes, too. Look, 33, 32, 41 against Portland. The guy right now is priced 88 on draft day, 44 on DraftKings. Right now, he's somebody that I'm high on as long as he can keep this up. It's one of those, ride it till the wheels fall off, and when they do, you're screwed. But for the couple games before that, you were in good shape. That's what I like out of him right now. His inconsistency was wild over the first couple weeks of the season, but he's settled down, and he's getting normal minutes despite that loaded front court, and I like him.
Yeah, and his
his
price is still low. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, if you look, Plumlee is the one who's been losing a lot of minutes recently with Frye playing really well. So I would avoid Plumlee, even though that price has dropped. Frye, another site, Dave mentioned a couple sites, FanDuel, he's only 4,800. So a few sites haven't adjusted, which, it mitigates the little bit of risk in there that he does, fall off and stops this streak. If he's not priced to hit those numbers, you've got a little bit of leeway there.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of news. Olynyk is going to be out for Boston. Lee is a game-time decision. That by Sports is fixed. I'm guessing Lee is referring to Courtney Lee.
Yeah, it's Courtney Lee.
And Courtney, irrelevant Lee. Yeah.
He used to, back when he was minimum salary, not last year, the year before last, I think it was. He had a few nice games. But and Chris Paul also now a game time decision for tonight. So again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show. If with someone that high priced and a guard, there's better ways to spend your money. Keep an eye also on Eric Bledsoe, going to be a game time decision. I don't think he plays. I do think Spencer Hall plays, but those are the two guys I've seen. And Cha says Sullinger not a bad play? Question mark. It just depends. There's a report that came out that said Brad Stevens actually asked him to shoot more threes, and so he's been shooting over 2 threes a game. But he's not shy. It just looks like he's a little bit out of shape, so to speak. But Dave, you like Sullinger tonight?
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to like him. He's logged 31 or more minutes in 5 of his last 6 games, and he put up almost 40 fantasy points against Memphis. I know they're without Marc Gasol, but still, they're a stout defensive team. They're a well-coached team regardless. And he really did he shot 10 for 18 against them. And 2 games before that, 6 for 12, 6 for 12. So he's hovering around the 50% mark. And he shot 3 threes in 3 straight games. I don't think you can go wrong with him, but it all depends on salary again. If he's too expensive, if his salary's ballooned because of that last game, stay away from it. But if he's still in that upper value territory, I don't think you can go wrong with him. Anyone that's taking that many shots, playing 30 plus minutes a game, like Mike said earlier, with the minutes, the production's going to come, especially at that low of a salary.
Yeah, 42.5 fantasy points on draft day on Wednesday. So he definitely is someone who is in play, especially where you need value. If you could play one value guy tonight, who would it be? I'll go ahead and go with mine and just go with the Vanderbilt guy, Jeff Taylor. I'll just say Jeff Taylor would be the value guy that I would play. Even though really it'd probably be Aaron Brooks, but I'll let you go next, Mike.
Are we talking? You want like a real cheap guy?
Yes.
Or just the one? Okay. I mean, I'll go with. I think Cartier Martin's a better play than Jeff Taylor on sites where you really need someone to fill in a little bit more scoring upside.
Dave.
Aside from Channing Frye, who I think you have to play him if he's at a reasonable price, I really do like Aaron Brooks. He's on Fan Throwdown. He's 4,600. Minimum salary is 4,500. On DraftKings, I believe he's minimum salary, 3,000. And I don't know what he is on DraftDay, but I'm assuming he's cheap. And this all depends a lot on James Harden. But even with Jeremy Lin out, I think he's going to see significant run. And if James Harden's out, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't play him tonight if both of those guys are out.
Yeah, you can see again. It's really cool that DraftDay incorporates the Fanium technology for their Twitter feed, because it's you see the tweets mentioned about a player, and you can see this stat that says Brooks has been out of this world the last 2 home games. He's hit 10 of 13 from 3 and averaging 23.5 points per contest. So he's feeling it, and he's another guy. Even back when he was with Oregon, he's never been afraid to shoot. And so he's definitely somebody in play, especially if James Harden doesn't play tonight. So anyways, guys, I really appreciate it. Mike, tell people where they can find you at.
If you go to rotoexperts.com/daily, and you can check out one of the headers is the Daily Fantasy Rundown, and that's where me and Drew Dinkpies Dinkmeyer, we provide every single day of the NBA season. We've got a whole article, position-by-position analysis. We've also got cheat sheets for DraftKings, DraftStreet, and FanDuel.
And Dave, they can find you at Laufey_D, and you also write an article for the Fake Basketball and for our site on Fridays. And you're always on Twitter, man.
I try. My girl hates it, man. She hates it, but I love it, so it's staying.
Very nice. Well, that'll do it for this Black Friday edition of the Daily Fantasy Insiders TV show. Very blessed to have Dave and Mike on with us today. Great job, guys. Get over there.
Thanks for having us.
What was you saying?
I said thanks for having us.
Oh, okay. I thought she was coming back at me. No, but it was good stuff. And go play over there at DraftDay, rather, our sponsors. And anyways, yeah, have fun. Hit us up on Twitter later, and we'll see you on Monday. Actually, we'll see you tonight for the college football show.
Fool with it. I might cross you up and fake one way. Turn around and hit you with the MJ fade away. I'm throwing down passes like J Kidd, taking cats to the rack and I'm dunking on them like C-Mac. When I'm in the plane, I play with that Alonzo style. I'm like Darius, cause I can
Don't too many players get offers like me. Back and forth are likely. Shake the checks off your Nikes. They almost had me in a suit at the draft.